JM Financial recently came out with a report titled The Elephant Can Dance. Guess who the elephant is? It is Tata Neo, the super app that was launched by Tata Sons recently, in fact during IPL, where you're having the software to sort conglomerate trying something for the first time in the world, cutting across all brands, cutting across all categories to create a loyalty rewards program for customers, something that has not been tried before. I'm going to be in conversation with the two authors of that report, Abhishek as well as Sachin. They're the lead for the internet space for research at JM Financial. Thank you, gentlemen, for being live with us and right here on Startup Central and ET Now. Abhishek, I'll come to you first. So the elephant can dance, huh?
Thank you for having me here, having us here. So yes, the task at hand in front of Tata is mammoth. This is something, as you rightly said, there are very few precedents globally of a transition of this scale, and we think the challenges which are there in front of Tata in this transformation are manifold. But what we have noticed in our report is that they have identified these problems very well, and they are working in a very constructive and in a structured manner to address these challenges.
Okay, so Sachin, why is this not old wine in a new bottle? New bottle, and I will say I am copying something you guys have addressed in your report, and I'm copying it from that. But tell our viewers, why is this not old wine in a new bottle?
So I guess the thing here is that there have been things that have been tried, right? There have been multiple cases where there were vertical focused startups who were trying to do something. There were companies, conglomerates who tried something and they went about doing it in a very old fashioned manner. I think what Abhishek also referred to and what I'll come back to as well is we see Tata Neu taking a completely different approach. This is an entity which has a good backend, which has a omnichannel presence, and which has also onboarded a bunch of the new age companies which have come on board to provide a wholesome experience to the consumers. So that's how we are basically seeing this venture or a foray of Tata Group here.
Okay, but tell me something. Your report also concludes and says that Tata Neo, the elephant can dance, is now old wine in a new bottle, and it is going to be gaining market share. Abhishek, the question is, when Tata Neo gains market share, at whose expense?
So, so what we have noted in the report is that now there are four large horizontal e-commerce players, e-commerce stroke omni-channel players in India. Flipkart and Amazon on pure play digital commerce companies, and Tata and Reliance on the omni-channel side of commerce. So given the size of Indian e-commerce space today, which is around $40 to $45 billion, we don't think there is space for any other large horizontal players. So these four people would try to consolidate their position at the top, and at the expense of smaller Me Too horizontal players. We believe that niche vertical players who have differentiated themselves will continue to exist, but in terms of horizontal players, they will lose out, or some of the other vertical or e-commerce enabling segment players will get acquired by these top four companies.
Right. Now, if you look at the big guns that we have in the e-commerce landscape, and I'm lifting this from your report once again, and I'll come to you, Sachin. The fact is what? You guys have concluded that when Tata Neo becomes bigger, onboards more customers, cuts across even more categories, it is going to be at the cost of Amazon, Flipkart, which will also include Myntra, as well as Reliance Retail. I get that why, and I'm sure our viewers will as well. It's very obvious. But there are some other names that are also missing out, which have also become very large. For example, let's take a Nykaa. There are others as well. So once again, Sachin, is it going to come at the cost of, let's say, an Amazon, Flipkart, or even a Meesho in the smaller towns?
So what we continue to believe is that the horizontal play is very very large in India, right? E-commerce, if you look at on overall basis, most categories are forecasted to grow somewhere like a 25 to 30% CAGR, right, over the next 5 to 10 odd years. So there is a good enough market growth that is available. What is needed rather is to organize this market. Right, there is a good shift that is happening from the unorganized or the traditional channel to internet or digital channel today. So I think most of that growth will come from there. In terms of market share, it comes at the cost of basically people who are not yet organized. Those are the ones who will pass on the market share. In terms of most of the companies like the vertical focused, niche focused players who are providing a specialized experience to the consumers, I think they will continue to do well in their own verticals. It's more about getting into categories which were already not present, right? For example, Tata Neu is trying to talk about booking Taj rooms, like booking Vistara flights. All those things come together here, which were not available to the market earlier.
But Abhishek, the other problem also is that when we say Tata Neu is a super app, and you guys qualify it as a super app, and I'll just say take my example. Um, it's not all encompassing, right? I'll only know about the Tata products and the Tata services. So I'll only know, let's say, for example, about what room rate I might get in X city from a Taj hotel, not from an Oberoi hotel. So I may not be able to do that comparison. Same for flight tickets. It could even be for certain products, whether it's from Chroma. Isn't that going to be a big limitation, and therefore, in that sense, Flipkart, Amazon win as opposed to Tata Neo?
No, so your observation is right. For app to become truly super app, it has to have a very long tail kind of inventory, and also product cannot be limited only to Tata brand, and we have kind of pointed that out, that Tata will have to open its Tata Neo app for non-Tata brands, and I think what we have picked up from industry is that they have an open architecture of the app, and they are open to host non-Tata brands. But having said that, I think Tata understands that customers will not automatically come on the Tata Neo app immediately, and so what they have done is they have actually reached out to different Tata apps themselves. So today, for example, Tata Neo is integrated with various consumer brands of Tata systems. So what that means is whether you check in Taj app, whether you might have booked Taj through some other app, but once you check in Taj, you're actually checking in on Tata Neo, and you end up earning new points, and that will bring you back to the Tata ecosystem. You will come back to either Tata Neo app or any other Tata brand to burn those new points or to use those new points. So that's how they're trying to bind their customers to the Tata ecosystem rather than just the app.
But then, Sachin, wouldn't that create more friction? Because everybody wants to have less friction. Wants everything, we're being told that we even need our deliveries done in 10 minutes flat, right? So the point being that if I'm going to go on a third-party app, which might then be integrated backwards with a Tata Neo app, so I get my points, all the more reason I don't need a Tata Neo app, right?
So the app does not really force you to come back to it, right? So what Abhishek was mentioning was that the app basically tells you that you can go ahead, do your transaction wherever you want to. But you will still get centralized new coins in a particular place. So people will get entrenched. As of now, at least, I think that factor, like they are talking about 5% sort of new coins that get credited to a wallet on every transaction that you do on Tata ecosystem, that will bring people back to the Tata ecosystem, right? So, for example, you checked into a Taj hotel and you got whatever 500,000 rupees sort of a new coins, and then next time you want to order maybe a footwear, and you go to Tata Click and you use the 1,000 rupees credit that you got on the check-in of Taj hotel, you get to use those 1,000 new coins on this purchase. So that's how customer keeps on coming back, and there forms a virtuous loop, which will drive the customer engagement, which will have the customer coming back to the platform again and again.
Now, I think N. Chandrasekhar made it very clear digital is no longer an option, it is inevitable. Mukesh Ambani has been famously saying that data is the new oil. So, with that, Abhishek, the question also then is it just a matter of time before we see super apps by the conglomerates? Tata's writing the playbook, but will a Reliance not follow through with it? Or will the Birlas not follow through with it, let's say, with all the brands they have with the fashion? Can ITC afford to stay back? Or a Dabur? The list goes on and on. Adani is also.
Yeah, generally speaking, that is the direction which other conglomerates should also take. But as we mentioned in the beginning, it's a very difficult undertaking, something which has not been successfully done very often across the globe. So while we like the strategy, the framework that Tata has adopted, execution still remains the key. They will have to be at it for a long period of time to actually completely successfully transform into a digital enterprise. I'm sure other players will take a leaf out of Tata's book if they are successful.
Okay, so let's see how the digital landscape is rewritten or written by the various conglomerates. Tata is, of course, writing its own playbook. And Chandrasekhar, of course, always talks about a one Tata vision. But Sachin, where is all of this going to lead? The growth versus profitability debate. Most of the Tata Love brands are also listed players, right? Whether you talk about a Titan, or you can talk about a Chroma, or you can, even talk about a Trent, which will have a Zara under it, and you've got Vistara, you've got Taj, you have Air India, the list goes on and on and on. But the fact is, the CEOs of each of those individual businesses will be reporting to the same N. Chandrasekharan, the same Tata Sons board, and to their shareholders with the need to keep increasing profitability. We know in the digital landscape, money needs to be burnt. Sometimes arrangements need to be arrived at for bringing customers on board, deep discounting, all of that. How is that going to happen on the Tata Neo?
So that's in fact one of the challenges that we feel are likely to come up, considering the heritage that Tata Group has. But our understanding so far has been that there is this Tata Digital. The very reason that Tata Digital sort of an entity has been formed is to basically ensure that those sort of conflicts do not arise, right? So they are having a central entity wherein Tata Sons is putting in money, wherein a lot of the fundraisers might also happen in case they happen in the future, assuming that the company or the entity basically raises outside funds as well. So this Tata Digital entity is where a lot of the funding will come through. This is the entity who will be then focused on building the product, which is a huge investment when you are trying to go digital. Secondly, this is also the entity which is going to be focused on acquiring customers. Right? So most of the burn in terms of the investment in customer acquisition or the product is going to come out from the single entity rather than the individual listed players that we have just named. And I think that's probably the fair way to go, right? Because most of the entities that we talk about, while they are answering to the central team that is led by Mr. Chandrasekhar, they are also answerable to the shareholders, which are individual in most cases, right? So that's how I think the Tata Digital entity circumpasses that issue that can arise.
So, Abhishek, only a matter of time before we see Tata Neo going in for fundraise and interest rates are going up. The era of easy money is winding down.
So obviously we are not privy to any such conversations. Looking at what is happening in the private market in the internet space, probably not the right time to raise funds. If somebody has the balance sheet to sustain for some more time, that is what we would like to believe. But yeah, sooner than later, given that they have a portfolio of companies like Big Basket, 1MG, where the competition is still very stiff, they need to raise money at some point in time to be able to kind of support the growth of those companies.
Okay, you folks have also attempted to calculate what the gross merchandising value, the GMV for Tata Digital can be for this year? I remember when I read it, my eyes popped out. Sachin, would you like to do the honors and tell our viewers what you're pegging it at?
Well, I'll have Abhishek take the question, I think.
Yeah. So what we have done is for this year we have taken the large categories which are present on Tata Neo currently, and it comes to 156 billion rupees, which is roughly slightly more than $2 billion, largely contributed by Big Basket and Chroma. So and then we have projected it out. We think they can reach $12.5 billion by FY30 conservatively. Yeah, so that's our estimates.
First year expecting GMV of nearly $2 billion, but then look at the kind of categories and brands that have been created. Interesting times ahead. Tata Neo writing a new playbook for all of the conglomerates. Let's see if the others also follow. These are the two gentlemen that authored the report, The Elephant Can Dance. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you.